At the end of the day, the client just needs to know that if we focus on this, this is the outcome, right? And that's all they care about.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot and Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
You probably got into agency life thinking every day would be different. Interesting projects, solving complex problems, and working with great clients. But somewhere along the way, the busy work took over. Following up, managing the pipeline, and remembering every little detail so your team doesn't drop the ball. Enter Copper CRM. Copper is everything your agency needs all in one place. Built for Google Workspace, which a lot of us use, it helps you automate the follow-up, collaborate in real time, and keep client relationships on track so you can focus on the work you love. Try it for free for 14 days at copper.com/happyclients. For a limited time, you can get 15% off an annual plan. Just use promo code HAPPYCLIENTS at checkout. Well, welcome, Mikael, to the Happy Clients podcast. I'm super excited for our conversation. Truthfully,
Me too.
I'm really excited to learn more about Funnelytics and how it helps agencies. But why don't you kind of give us the quick version of what Funnelytics is and who you work with?
Yeah, no problem. I'll give you the backstory first because I think it gives a little bit of context as to why I started Funnelytics in the first place. In short, Funnelytics is this really cool visualization tool for your data, right? It's a way to kind of paint a picture to your clients, but use data to paint that picture and tell them, here's like our strategy and here's the results of that strategy in a very cool way. But how I started it was I was running my agency. I started it back in 2014 or something like that. And what I would do for all of my clients is I would kind of visualize what I would do for them on a whiteboard. So for us, what we did for our clients is we did, ads, we did content, we built landing pages, email automations, follow-ups, videos, that kind of stuff. We kind of created the whole funnel ecosystem to try to drive conversions for them. And what I would do is I would go on a whiteboard and I would say, okay, well, your Facebook ads are going to go to this page. And on this page, they're going to put in their name and email. And then they're going to receive these 5 emails. And those emails are going to go over to this page. And then they're going to go and make a purchase, etc. Right? So I would kind of draw this diagram for them. And it worked really well to close clients because they saw it and they're like, oh, I get it. You're not just doing SEO. You're not just writing Facebook posts or doing ads. You're building this whole thing that is designed to help me get this end outcome that I care about. And when they saw that picture, they instantly gravitated towards me versus the person who would send them a proposal of like, we're going to write 5 posts per month and this and right. So it worked really, really well. But then I always got stuck trying to explain how the results of that core strategy were going, right? So now they would sit there and I would have to log into Google Analytics and I would have to log into Facebook and I'd put together a spreadsheet and I'd build some sort of dashboard in Looker Studio or whatever. And they'd look at that and they'd be like, okay, but like, I don't really get, is it working? Is it not working? Like, what are you guys going to do next? So I started taking the data and actually overlaying it on top of the map. So I would show them here, there's X amount of people who came from Facebook and went to this page. And out of the people who came to this page, X amount went over to this step. So we're going to focus on optimizing this step because if I can get more people to move through, you'll get more money, right? And as soon as I laid it on top of the picture, they would get it. They would understand. And it allowed my team to understand. But of course, that was extremely tedious. So the software idea was, man, wouldn't it be cool if I just had a software that allowed me to visualize my strategy like this and then click a button and overlay data on top? So that's what we built. We built a tool that allows you to do that.
That is so cool. And I'm even thinking about our own business and how often we are whiteboarding things. We're using the Miro
Mhm.
and we're drawing things out on paper because I'm such a visual person
Yep.
and it doesn't make sense in a spreadsheet. Funnels
No,
don't make sense in spreadsheets. You have to
no.
see them. So I love that. So obviously some clients, like you said, they're just like, is it working? They want to get results. But as an account manager,
how can we educate clients using Funnelytics on an ongoing basis instead of having our conversations turn into this big marketing lesson? How can
Yep.
we use Funnelytics to educate them
Mhm.
when they probably don't understand marketing?
It's a good question, and I think the first thing that you have to understand is, like you said, your clients don't care about what you're going to do. They care about the result, right? They care, is it working or is it not working? If you want to retain your clients, you have to be able to communicate what are you going to do next in order to improve results? Because let's be very frank, you launch a campaign, you launch a strategy, the likelihood that it is going to work the first time is near zero, right? You might hit it and you might be like, cool, like I got lucky and everything worked out, but something is going to be broken within the funnel. Something will need to be tweaked and optimized and tested. Clients don't understand that. They just think that we launch campaigns and they always work all the time, right? Like that's just their beliefs. Like, well, that's why I pay you. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. We have to test things, we have to optimize. So one of the features we built in Funnelytics to do this was basically when I overlay my data on top of this strategy, I can see, oh, okay, well, out of all the people who come to this page, only 5% go to this next page. We actually built this really cool forecasting feature where I can say, what happens if I take that 5% and bump it up to 15%, right? And all the data stays the same and it shows me, oh, well, if you run that scenario, here's how much more you make, or here's how many more people fill out the form or flow through the entire funnel. So what that allows our agencies to do is basically go to their clients and say, look, here's what we're going to focus on next. This is the bottleneck right here. So if we're able to go from this 5% that's currently happening to 15%, here's what's going to happen. So over the next month, we're going to work on just fixing this bottleneck. So we're going to optimize the page. We're going to do these emails to send more people through, whatever it is that's going to help me increase that number. Then the client looks at it and says, makes sense. Keep going, right? Like, and it communicates that. So that forecasting feature is something we built in the early days because ultimately that is what, we need to convey to our clients as agency owners.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that you had that, but that makes so much sense. And I think from an account manager perspective, if I'm able to sit down and show them where we're going,
Yep,
that is just such powerful data because I think
absolutely.
that's where we lack, as account managers, we only have so much access to the data of the results and things like that. And we're also responsible for communicating that to clients. So if we had something like this where we could just visually walk them through, it gives us so much more power to be able to own that relationship and show them the ROI.
Yeah, you have to be able to own the communication and the relationship, like you say. You have to be able to have those conversations without diving into marketing lessons per se, right? Like the only reason it's easy to communicate when you're looking at this number is because you're saying, well, this is what's real, this is what's actually happening, but if we're able to improve it by this much, this is the outcome that you care about, right? And that ultimately is all the client cares about. They don't really care about the intricacies of what you're going to do in order to improve that. And as the account manager, I also kind of don't care about the intricacies. Like that's not my role. My role is to make sure that I maintain the client relationship and keep the client happy and keep the client informed. The team and the strategist and the ads manager and the person writing the copy, they can go and like come up with a game plan as to what exactly are we going to do. If the client cares about those details, we can communicate those. But at the end of the day, the client just needs to know that if we focus on this, this is the outcome, right? And that's all they care about.
Yeah. And it gives you an opportunity to show the wins, right? Because sometimes the results aren't quite there yet.
Yep.
Maybe we're not getting 100 leads a month. You might be getting 20, but
Yep.
maybe the ads are crushing it.
Yep.
It's just something else down the funnel that we need to fix. So giving them some hope too that, it's not all garbage.
Exactly.
We're not throwing it all away. It's just these little pieces that need to fix. And then look at the results we're going to see. So I think that is just so powerful for us as account managers.
Yeah, I'll just touch quickly on that point. It's just a story yesterday. Actually, I was speaking to a client. And we were looking at their funnel and their funnel metrics. And basically, they're using YouTube ads. They're sending people to an opt-in to watch a video. And then there's an application on the back end for one of their programs. And what's interesting is, you know, they were getting a whole lot of calls, but those calls weren't converting into any sales, right? But the funnel itself was working. The ads were driving, the numbers around the ads were good. People were opting in, they were watching the videos, they were applying and filling out the application, and people were showing up on the calls, but then the calls weren't necessarily converting. And the client was like, this whole thing isn't working, it's not working, we're not. And it's like, well, actually, no, every step of the funnel is working, but when you get on a call with somebody, that's not necessarily working. So what do we need to figure out how to fix that? And they're like, you know, well, you're going from cold and you're trying to sell this $10,000 thing. And people are like, well, we can't afford that. It's like, well, maybe we tweak that. Like, let's figure out how to improve this piece instead of trying to throw everything away, because it's just that one little change can completely change your business.
100%. That's so interesting. You must see a lot of crazy offers and funnels through Funnelytics. Like, what are
Yeah.
some of the cool ones that you're working on?
Yeah. I think we track like about 450 million data points a month. It's kind of
Whoa.
crazy. Like we track a lot of stuff. And I'll tell you this, the businesses that make the most money have the simplest funnels ever. And then you have like I'll log into some clients and they have these canvases with like all sorts of stuff, right? They have like a bunch of blog posts and pages and ads going here, and the strategy sounds really fancy and really cool. It's like, okay, then there's a webinar afterwards, and then after that there's going to be this follow-up and it's going to send people over here, and like it looks super fancy. You look at the canvas, you're like, you got all these things going on and it never works. Like they're making no money, right? And then you've got these other people who have an ad, a page, opt-in, sale, and it's like crushing it, right? And the difference is they have focused on optimizing this simple thing while the other person focuses on just adding complexity and adding more and more and more stuff. So there's stuff within that bigger ecosystem that is working. They're just not focused on how do I make it better and keep improving it and just ramping it up. They're focused on how do I stack more on top. And the ones that are winning are the ones who are like, you know, we're not going to add more. We're just going to be hyper focused on just tweaking little improvements over time. And then boom, it hits. And now they're able to scale.
Hmm. That's so interesting. So I think from my perspective, being a marketer, a lot of people are not paying enough attention to each of the data points within their funnel. So
Yep,
they're just looking at the end result. So instead of being like, let's optimize this section of the funnel, they're like, let's just add all these fancy things. Like
totally.
we're all guilty of it
Of
as
course, for
marketers,
sure.
right?
Absolutely.
Instead of really taking the time to look at the data,
Yeah.
right? Like it's marketing 101, it's funnels 101.
I know. It's the idea of like, let's just throw spaghetti at the wall and something will stick one day, hopefully. But
Yeah.
let's just keep going and let's just keep throwing stuff at the wall. And, you know, it's funny. A mentor of mine has told me this. He's like, as marketers, we tend to like we love being creative and we love coming up with new ideas and like showing people how smart we are with all of the knowledge we've accumulated over the years. So you run a campaign and then it works. You send out a bunch of emails or whatever it is and it works. And then like you don't do it again. It's like let's
Yeah.
let's not send those emails again. Let's move on to the new strategy that we came up with, you know? And it's like, but that thing worked. Why not just optimize it and do it again and improve it and keep tweaking it to make more? But that's kind of boring. You know, it's data nerds who sit there and like tinker and tweak versus us creative marketers. Like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I want to build
Yeah.
a new castle. I want to do something
Yes.
fun, right?
Oh, I'm just rolling my eyes at myself because I'm so guilty of that so
We
many times,
we all are. We all are. It's not just
you
you. Me
know?
too. Me
Oh my
too.
gosh. So, how does it work? Can you tell us, like, if I'm an agency and
Yep.
maybe I have 10 clients, how would I set all this up? And I know
Yeah.
your team
So
helps, but
yeah, our team absolutely can come in and help, but it's actually really pretty simple. You install a tracking code on your client's website, just like Google Analytics, and Funnelytics will automatically track all of the different traffic sources that come to the website. It'll automatically track all the pages that those people visit. It'll automatically track all the videos that they watch on the site, all the buttons that they click, how far they scroll on a page. Any form that you have on your website, it'll automatically track that they completed the form. And then you can also use our integrations to pull in any purchases that happen. Let's say you have order forms or Shopify or Stripe, for example. Or if you have HubSpot or your client has HubSpot and you want to track like how far somebody goes down a deal pipeline, you can use our HubSpot integration to just pull all that data and tie it back. So fundamentally, the setup is relatively simple. And then you just use the canvas to kind of explore this data. Like I can just click on the canvas and say, oh, well, I want to know how people got to a purchase. And I can literally drag backwards and it'll say, okay, well, here's all the pages that people came from to get to that purchase. And I can just keep dragging backwards and mapping it like I would on a canvas.
geez, this sounds really cool. I'm literally gonna go do this after this. That's awesome. So, are there any success stories of agencies you've worked with that you could share some examples of maybe some brands or clients that you have helped kind of change the game?
Yeah, it's interesting because agencies and businesses use Funnelytics for slightly different jobs. So businesses care about optimization. They care about like making more from the same marketing dollars, right? That's ultimately what they're trying to use our tool for. They don't care about looking at the pictures so much. It's not as important to them. So they're just looking at how can I improve my results? How can I optimize things? Agencies use it as a communication tool. It's how can I go and present to my client the strategy, present to my client what are the next things that we're going to work on. They don't use it as much as this optimization tool because most agencies aren't like we kind of said, they're not data nerds, right? They're not sitting there and being like, oh, let me figure out how to tweak this from 5% to 10%. So most agencies use it as a way to sell clients and retain clients. We've had agencies who have made hundreds of thousands of dollars just using Funnelytics as a mapping tool and using our forecasting feature to basically, prior to even closing the client, say, if we hit these numbers, we spend this, this is how much you make, right? So this is the strategy, this is the flow. We're going to hit these numbers, or here's, what numbers we hit with another client. If we do this for you, this is how much you make. And it's the easiest sale in the world.
I was
Easiest
gonna
sale in the
say,
world,
yes.
right? Because
Yes.
the client's like, oh, okay, I can see the ROI. Um, and then they'll use kind of Funnelytics as a reporting tool to kind of say, okay, well, this is what we showed you we would hit. We're not quite there yet. Here's what the actual numbers are. So this is what we're focusing on next, right? They're not necessarily diving into the data as much. Businesses, on the other hand, they kind of use it a lot more for that analysis. They'll analyze how are people scrolling to a page or what they're doing on a page and how that then contributes to somebody making a purchase. They'll analyze how different ads are contributing to purchases and shift budgets based on that. They'll use it much more as a way to make decisions and decide what to do next. We released a really cool AI feature now where basically you have an AI that looks at all of the data and like spits out really accurate and insightful recommendations and says, oh, well, based on everything I'm seeing, here's like where you should focus or what you should be thinking about so that you
Wow.
don't have to go and do it yourself, which is pretty cool.
That was gonna be my next question was how is AI being tied in here? But
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
like your
replacing a
little
whole,
assistant.
yeah, like that's replacing people,
Yeah, it is.
you know?
I feel bad, but at the same time, it is
No,
what it is.
it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is
Especially
what
in
it is.
agencies, right? Like we need to be efficient and making sure we're making the best decisions for our clients. So
Totally.
that's really cool. Cool. Well, this was such an awesome conversation. I'm inspired as a marketer to use Funnelytics and dig into the data and just have that visual representation of all of our funnels and also a good reminder to keep it simple because
Yeah.
us people who love to get creative, we love to just create chaos. So that is
Totally.
also a great reminder. Where
Totally.
can people learn more about Funnelytics, sign up, check it out?
Yeah, so go. You can always do a free trial of our platform at funnelytics.io. And if you like marketing stuff, you can always check me out on LinkedIn and follow any sort of posts and stuff that I put out there. So, yeah,
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cheers to happy clients.